All right, today on the show, we have Gus Munoz Castro from PowerISA.com. Now, originally from Mexico, Gus is a former Microsoft senior engineer turned real estate agent turned inside sales guru. He runs one of the largest inside sales teams for real estate in North America. His company is called PowerISA. That's PowerISA.com. And there's 100 agents strong making, and this is incredible, about 50,000 outbound dials a day to buyers and sellers and setting about 100 appointments with buyers and sellers every single day. So 50,000 dials, 100 appointments, mostly from Facebook leads in real estate. And Gus runs a 7-figure a year business and has over 600 active clients. He is very passionate about helping business owners become successful through online marketing and lead follow-up and conversion. Please visit PowerISA.com. And for our listeners and viewers, we have a special promo. So if you go to PowerISA.com/keeping it real, there's a special promo going on just for our podcast audience. So Gus, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Hey, DJ, how's it going? Glad to be here.
I am really excited to talk to you because before I became basically a real estate or realtor recruiter, which is what I've been doing for the last 10 years, I worked in the lead space, and I worked in a different industry. It was for health insurance, but we were producing leads and selling them to call centers, is what they called it at the time, because it wasn't real estate related. But I am so excited to talk to you because you're a tech guy, and I appreciate bringing tech into real estate in a way that's effective. But I'd love to hear your story about how you came to work, as having an ISA company. Can you start us all the way at the beginning of your real estate career?
Yeah, absolutely. Like you mentioned, I'm an engineer by training. I was born and raised in Mexico on the border with the U.S. So even that's kind of, I have like a California accent. Born and raised in Mexico, but I was always, close to the U.S., had a lot of family in the U.S. All the TV I watched as a kid was in the U.S. So I was always immersed in the culture, right? Like, hey, this America is awesome. Let's check it out. Let's be close to it. It's a little bit of a unique upbringing. Well, not unique for that area because the border area is kind of weird on both sides of the border because it's so mixed, right? The two cultures are so mixed.
Sure.
I'm a product of that, right? So I went to school for engineering because that was the thing to do to really, it was the late 90s when I went to college and the internet boom was in full swing. So I went to school. I got recruited by Microsoft in Mexico, in country.
Nice.
And they flew me out to Seattle. This was the early 2000s. And in case folks don't remember what that was like back then, Microsoft was the only show in town with regards to technology. The Windows Mobile, the browsers, the consoles, like everything was my productivity. Obviously, Windows and Office. It was the be all end all of technology.
And after the dot-com crash, they were one of the few, big behemoths. Obviously, they weren't really part of that bubble, so they were still standing and stronger than ever.
Like nothing happened. And then all the former Microsofties coming back, right? They had gone off to start their startups. It didn't work. Everyone was coming back to the mothership, right? So it was kind of a crazy time. And I got to, kind of see a transition of the whole industry. I saw it from Microsoft be number one in every single area imaginable to the emergence of Apple, the emergence of Google, the emergence of Facebook, Amazon, and more of a diverse ecosystem, right? So all of these things were happening. Transformation was the name of the game. Well, I also transformed during that time, right? Because I went in as an engineer. It was the dream job. It was amazing. Until I kind of realized it wasn't my dream, right? 100%. It wasn't exactly, it wasn't aligned, put it in different terms, it wasn't aligned with my purpose. And once you kind of figure that out, it's a tough idea to get out of your head, right? This is not exactly what I'm meant to be doing. The way I discovered that was by all my hobbies and side gigs and side hustles that I had. I was looking for those kinds of opportunities. My wife got licensed in 2008 as the world was ending. In case people don't remember that. That was a long time ago. It was not a seller's market forever, guys.
No.
So yeah, that happened, and she became licensed, and she became the rookie of the year in 08 by selling like 9 deals. By the way, it was not that hard back. It was hard to get deals. As the world was ending, and then she kind of pulled me into it. I helped her nights and weekends. I had a lot of fun with it. I realized I was really good with people. I always knew that, but in the engineering space, it's not an enormously important trait. It's not really, right? It's more about the technology and the work. And if you're a good people person, I became a manager there, right? I'm more of a people person. I can build teams, I can train folks. So I became a manager at Microsoft, slowly climbing the corporate ladder there, until I realized, man, I'm having much more fun helping my wife nights and weekends than I'm doing this, right? So there came a point in my life when I said, you know what, I'm going to give this a try. I'm going to go all in into real estate. And the excuse was I'm going to help my wife build her team. I'm going to organize her team, build it up, give myself 6 months of runway, and then I'm going to come back into high tech. I'm going to take a little hiatus, a sabbatical. Let's see what happens, right? And then if I would either go back to Microsoft or some other company. I was in Seattle. I could go to Amazon and Zillow. It was all these other different companies I could join. Let's see what happens if I go on my own. And that happened in the summer of 2013, and I haven't looked back since then, right? So ran the real estate team. I started this company, Power ISA, which kind of consumed everything that I've done in 2015, and now where I have 100 full-time employees working for the company, another 20 people training, getting ready to join the company on top of that, and servicing, a bunch of people in the US and Canada, hundreds of clients all over the place.
Yeah, it's absolutely incredible. And I know that there's probably a lot of listeners or viewers right now who go, I know I've heard the term ISA, but maybe I'm an individual practitioner. I don't really know what that is. I'm not on a team that has an ISA, or I'm just not really all that familiar. I'm new to the industry and I'm not familiar. Can we just define what ISA is?
Yeah, I use the term as inside sales agent. Inside sales agent. And some folks, refer to it a little bit differently. That's the term that I like and know and love, inside sales agent. And that refers to someone on a team, a member of a team that is on the phone and converting, lead generating on the phone, right? They're doing outbound calls, they're handling inbound leads. They're having conversations with them, either to generate it as a brand new lead, it went from cold list to brand new lead, or an already identified warm opportunity, convert them into an appointment, convert them into a live transfer. That's essentially what the role does.
And tell us a little bit about what Power ISA does specifically for agents who sign up with you.
Yeah, so we help folks and we staff that role for real estate teams, for loan officers, for real estate investors all over the US and Canada. If they're in their company, if they're at that level where they need a full-time person or a part-time person to do this role, we help staff that role and provide and manage that person for them. If they're a little bit earlier in their journey, we actually have a pay-per-lead service they can do. If they're only generating maybe 50 to 100 leads a month, then they can actually send us a smaller amount of leads and pay-per-lead basis, and we'll follow up, call them, and convert them for them.
Okay. So will you do lead generation or just lead conversion, or both?
We just do the lead conversion part. We're really, really specialized. The lead generation happens, either the agent is doing it on their own, or they're paying a marketing agency to do it, or they're buying them from a portal like Zillow, like Realtor.com, like
Sure.
all these different kinds of online lead providers. They're doing the lead generation. Our team specifically focuses on the conversion aspect for those inbound leads. On the outbound aspect of it, I mean, this kind of goes down to like definitions, but our ISAs do outbound calling, cold calling on these lists. So in a sense, they are lead generating, but they're doing it from truly cold lists, like cold, uncalled, unnurtured, untouched prospects.
That's amazing. So if I'm an agent and I'm looking for somebody to, look, agents have to spend so much time, as with you and your wife's agency, just doing every part of the business. You have to do lead generation. You have to do lead conversion. You have to service your existing clients. Of course, you're going out and doing showings and open houses. And then of course, all the paperwork and, everything from list to close or from offer to close. And there just isn't always a lot of time to nurture leads and to convert them into appointments. And that's where you guys come in.
Yeah, 100%. And I have empathy with that, right? I totally understand it. But I'm going to tell you a funny story how I started the company, Power ISA.
Sure.
And I think it's going to go to kind of address that thought, right? I was, running the team. I think we were 4 people at the time, doing about 10 million a year, about 30 transactions in my marketplace at the time. It was a suburb of Seattle. And I had I had my first ISA, brought him in house. And I thought, wow, this is really, and I think he was able to do while he was trained up, was able to set about 22 different listing appointments, attended listing appointments for me
Wow.
in a month. And I'm like, okay, I'm on to something
Amazing.
here. This is interesting. This is okay. This can work, right? And I said, I bet I could have build a team like this from folks like this back in my hometown in Mexico. I bet I could do it, and I bet that would be worth the trouble to do. that was my big idea. That was my big bet. And people, by that point, people knew that I was doing this. They kind of, word spreads fast, right? It was in my market center. There was hundreds of people there. And then people found out about this, right? Pretty quickly. And I always loved doing, as you can tell, I love talking. So I would do a class. I would always tell people what I was up to, right? So after one of these classes, I said, hey, I discovered this model. At the time, I went to a Keller Williams conference. And I learned about it. I took a class. I went and visited some of these super high performing teams and had implemented the inside sales agent model at the highest level. And I went back and I implemented. And people were like, wow, tell us how that went. And I told them about it. And I said, hey, my next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to build a team in Mexico. And I'm going to see if I can replicate that kind of a model for Mexico-based ISAs. And, DJ, immediately, it ended up being 4, but immediately 3 other people signed up with me. They said, hey, Gus, if you're going to do that, then here's some money. And can you do that for me too? I mean, you're already going to set everything up. I mean, you just need one more person and let's get him on there. And then, and then eventually a 4th person called me and they said, hey, you haven't been returning my calls. You haven't been returning my emails. I need you to sign me up for this thing you're doing. I want in, right? So DJ, it was a thing about, with sales, with real estate, especially, we're always chasing the client, right? We're always trying to get their attention. We're trying to get in front of them and show them what we can do for them and show our value, etc. This was the first time people were calling me, right? They were trying to get in on what I was doing. And that was very eye-opening for me as a business owner. Just as a business, I said, okay, there's a need here. There is an unmet need. And this last month, we're recording this, at the beginning of the month. Last month, I should have launched 14 new campaigns. I only launched 10 because I didn't have enough people to launch 14 with. Even with a 100-person team, even with everything I have, I still cannot meet the need of the marketplace. I'm not even close to meeting the need of the marketplace for this role, but it's a very important and impactful role because of what you said a minute ago. It is hard for agents in this day and age to do all of those roles. So as soon as they can, and for the folks that know how to build a team, you've got to add leverage in that administrative role. You've got to add leverage in some part of the lead generation and lead conversion role. This is what we do. We help people add that leverage, whether that's converting more of the leads you're already getting a bigger ROI on those leads you're already getting, or helping you generate new leads by doing outbound prospecting.
Yeah, and I wanted just to tell our audience a quick story from my background that I think Gus will appreciate, and hopefully the listeners will appreciate. So I worked at an IT firm that was generating health insurance leads, and so we had web properties, websites that were poised to attract people who needed to purchase their own individual health insurance. And at the height of when I was there, we were generating about 15,000 leads a day, and then we would sell them to insurance agents, and then we would have to train those agents on how to convert those leads, because of course, if they didn't convert them, they're not going to buy more leads from us. So it was in our best interest to convert. And we had a few thousand agents across the country buying them. So one of my roles was to educate the agents about how to actually convert these leads, even though I'd never sold an insurance policy in my life. But what I did have was access to all this data. And Gus has incredible data for all of the amount of phone calls and conversions his team runs. Well, what we found with health insurance leads, and this is more than 10 years ago, and maybe it's changed since then, but we found out that we were always interested in, why does a health insurance agent buy some leads from us? They don't have the success that they want. In other words, they're not converting these people. And with health insurance, you can do it all over the phone. You don't have to meet in person. It's nice and easy. It should be a really clean transaction. Just uncomplicated. However, we found that we had a huge recidivism rate where people were just dropping off and not repurchasing leads. And we're like, well, we know all of these other people are having success. What's going on? Well, we did all this data and we started surveying the customer, the people who wanted to buy health insurance. And we said, hey, did you buy health insurance? Oh yeah, I bought it. Hey, we sold, we gave your information to so-and-so. They call you. Yeah, they called me, but they stopped calling me after we found the average person to buy health insurance. It took them like 11 to 13 days. I can't remember the exact number, but it was a while. And the average person we sold the lead to, the health insurance agent, they stopped calling. They gave up after about day 3 or day 4 because, well, they're busy, or they just, didn't want to keep calling, or they didn't have a system in place to continue that, to nurture that lead. And all of a sudden they would just go, well, the leads don't work. Everyone on this call can talk to 15 different real estate agents and say, hey, I was thinking about, buying some leads from Zillow or realtor.com or one of a million other places that'll do that. And somebody goes, oh, that doesn't work. But then you know that it works because other people do have success. And this is where I think the power of, pardon the pun, but the power of an ISA comes in, because really what you're doing is the hardest part, which is staying on top of the customer and doing the thing that most individual agents or even teams simply just don't have the time to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a great story, because I think it's very key. I think that's very common. And, and I wish that people had that goal of, hey, you've got to reach out to these people. If you're in the real estate space and we're talking about inbound internet leads, those 7 to 10 days, maybe those 12 or 13 days is a better idea. You've got to have that number in front of you, because that's the average it takes, right? That's the average. Like half of people will be less than that, half of them will be more than that, right? You kind of understand if you go into the role understanding that, you have a chance at being successful. If you go into it, having with the wrong expectation, you get very frustrated. Leads don't work, especially internet leads. Internet leads, they're the worst. They never convert. They're like the worst thing ever. And I think for folks, we were talking about this earlier. I think it's part of making that transition as an agent from a referral and recommendation based business to something that you're using unmet leads, which is what internet leads. It's a subset of these unmet leads. Unmet leads is everyone on the planet that you don't know. There's a lot of people in that group, right?
Yeah.
So internet leads are one segment of that. People that are online, they've shown some interest in real estate, some interest. It might be really strong. It might not be very strong. They've shown some interest and they're willing to give you their information. That's it. That's period in the story. And then what do you do with that is kind of up to you, right? So if you want to treat that, and I remember I might build my business as referral recommendation, how we started, right? So I could call a list. And this is what I did to get $10 million in sales a year. All I did was call a list of 300 people 3 to 4 times a year. And I generated about 30 transactions, almost like clockwork, right? I had already left Seattle. I was living in Mexico now, and I would still make those calls I think for like 12 to 18 months after I left town, and closed 22 transactions. I went down a little. When you're not in country anymore, your conversion rate's going to suffer probably.
Sure.
22 transactions still from calling people from Mexico and telling them, hey, are you thinking of selling some real estate or doing something in real estate in the next 6 to 12 months? I'd love to help, right? I'm still in the business. So all of these things, I say them because they matter. The referral recommendation is the best. And it doesn't take a ton. It takes some effort, but it doesn't take a ton of effort to convert these folks to appointments. My close rate on appointments from my sphere, 100% or near 100%, of course. 99.5%, right? That was basically it. That was it. So, but when you transition to unmet leads, that conversion rate can drop off a cliff. But I'm here to tell folks, hey, to give you hope. The best people in the industry, if we're talking about listing appointments with unmet people, they're going to be able to convert maybe 20% of those appointments, maybe 25% of those appointments. And they're going to be some of the best people out there, right? Especially in a competitive market like this. Maybe that conversion rate gets lower in a market that's as hot as this for now. But the best people in the industry can convert those appointments at 20 to 25%. That is a reasonable expectation. That is a good bar to set, because sometimes people want them to convert to appointment right away. When I would call a referral, the chances they were going to meet with me was maybe not 100%, but man, it was way
pretty
above
close.
80%, 80%, 75%, right? Man, they're going to meet with me. They're interested. Bob told me you're going to be selling a house soon. I'd love to chat with you about how I can help you. Great, let's do that. Very easy transition. When you're talking to someone that has no idea who you are, they don't know that I can trust you, the situation is different. And if you don't recognize that difference and adapt to it, then you're going to fail with a lot of these unmet leads.
And also too, boy, you just said so many great things. And also too, the skill set that it takes to be effective with your sphere of influence is a completely different skill set than working these, we'll call them cold leads, in the sense that they don't know you. They're possibly really hot leads, people who want to use a realtor, but they don't know you. So we're going to call them cold only because, they don't know you, but they could be hot. But the amount of effort it takes and the type of effort it takes is just, like you were saying, radically different effort. And for a lot of realtors, they're amazing at the referral side. They take such great care of their clients. Their clients refer business. Like you were saying, you had 300 customers, you were getting, pretty clockwork, 30 plus transactions a year. And all you had to do was stay in touch with people a handful of times a year to do that. It was not easy. You worked really hard to get there, but that's a different kind of hard than now switching gears, completely changing your process and your approach, and then have, going from 100% conversion or close to it to, maybe 20% conversion or maybe 10%. That is a different mindset. It's a different skill set. And we're not all good at everything. Realtors tend to be good at the people side of it, which is the face-to-face and taking great care. And that's where you get the bulk of your business. But why not add in a second? Because so many people are listening right now that goes, I don't want to make cold calls. I don't want to try to convince people that don't know me to use me. I just want to work my sphere. And I would probably say that's a great idea. However, what if you could have somebody else do the other part for you that is much better at it than you are? And that's why I think, not just Power ISA, but ISAs in general are amazing. Obviously, your team, and I bet your team their skill set might be, best suited for that. And maybe they wouldn't be as good on the referral side because they know how to pound the phones all day and convert.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, I 100% agree with what you said, DJ. It's a different skill set, right?
Yeah.
It's a different skill set that you utilize when you're referral and recommendation. It's people that know, like, and trust you. Emphasis on you.
Right.
It is about you, right? They're like, hey, I want to talk to Gus because Gus did this for my friend, so I want some of that. And then Gus is great at this, so I want that expertise. I want Gus. Gus is what I need. They told me that I should talk to you, so I need to talk to you. Referral recommendation, even in this day and age, is still the strongest way to refer someone and for it to be a valuable kind of transaction. Great, that's awesome. When you're talking about unmet leads, people that don't know, like, and trust you already, this is what the fundamentally, if I ever had to put it all together and say what the hardest part is for agents to realize that it is no longer about them.
Right.
They are not reaching out to you because of you. Unless your marketing is amazing, I don't want to go down that route.
If you're Ryan Serhant or something, maybe they're reaching out to you, but that's about it.
Possibly. If you already have an enormous personal brand, well, then maybe. But for everyone else, it isn't about you. It isn't about you. And none of your advertising, your marketing, none of it should be geared. It shouldn't be about you. It's very unlikely that's going to be successful if it's all about you. And then, I love talking. I have a Facebook group, right? And I love talking about realtor ads that I see.
Oh, they're the best, aren't they?
Whether it's a billboard, and I was driving over to Austin the other day, and I saw two billboards. This is hilarious, right? One billboard. This is the middle of nowhere between Houston and Austin. There's a lot of open space there, and there's realtor billboards. I hadn't seen those in a while. Let's take a look. One of them said it was agent name your agent, and a big, huge photo of the agent. That was one billboard. I was on the way to Austin, Texas. Okay, well, that's interesting. That's big face out there. Wow, very confident realtor putting their face. Great, good for them. Power to them. I think to myself, I have no idea why I would call that person. Right? I'm like, okay,
right.
They're out there. They must be a really well-known person in this town because I didn't see any reason to call them other than they can afford a billboard. Great.
Right.
on the way outside of Austin, I saw a billboard that said, hey, I'll sell your. It was I'm going to butcher this offer, but it was essentially, I'm going to be able to sell your home within 30 days, or I'm going to buy it from you. Right.
Right.
That, within, and I forget what the time frame was, because right now 30 days might be way too long in this market. It was a really interesting offer is the point I want to make, right? I think it was a target price. If I can't sell it for this price, I'm buying it, right?
Right.
If I can get you, no, here we go. If I can get you a qualified offer in 24 hours, I'm buying it myself.
Wow.
It was aggressive. It was like, I was like, whoa. That's it. I wanted to dial in that website, and I wanted to see what that's about. That was interesting for me. That's an interesting offer. That gets my attention, right? What are the details? I have no clue. But at least that was attention grabbing. I get that. I remember the URL off the billboard for me to actually go back when I got home. I went and typed it, right? Or, as soon as I could, I typed it into my phone. And I thought it was a new take on that 30 days and I'll buy it kind of offer. It was a brand new take for a really hot market like Austin. So the point about those two billboards is that one of them is focused on the person. I'm awesome. How awesome I am. Look at my face.
Right.
How awesome I am. Obviously work with me. And the other one was focused on the offer.
Yeah.
Ultimately focused on the client. What do they want? What's interesting to them? What's going to catch their attention? How are you addressing their hopes, needs, and desires, right? Their goals. That is what that's about. And so I thought one was 10 times more effective than the other one. I'm not even 10 times, 100 times more effective than the other one. If we were to measure how many signed clients one billboard generated versus the other, I think it would be a 10x, if not 100x difference.
Oh,
If we're talking
couldn't
about
it?
that.
Here in Chicago a few years ago, Redfin has a pretty strong presence here in Chicago, and they have their own agents. And I don't know if they do that in every market, but they do here. And they have a billboard on one of the major highways here in the city. And it basically said, and to your point, it said, we'll sell your home for, and I forget what their fee is, 1.5% or whatever it is. But whatever it is, I first I thought I looked at it and I go, no one's going to understand what that means. People in the industry know what it means. But I said, and then I thought about it more because I kind of went, that's a dumb billboard because no one's going to even understand that. And then I went, you know what though? People who don't understand what that means are going to go, there's something about that. And they're going to go onto Redfin's website and go, oh, they're going to look it up. Just like you were saying, they put an offer on the billboard. They didn't really make it about them. They just said, hey, we can sell your home for whatever percentage, obviously dramatically undercutting what realtors typically charge. And whatever you feel about that, all I'm using it as an example of, that's a really smart, effective billboard. Yeah. And so, yeah, let's talk about what, not necessarily only mistakes agents make, but I want to talk about social media, because I know that you convert so many or get so much of your team's business from Facebook. So we're talking about providing value. Is how, providing an offer, giving somebody something to think about other than, hey, look at how cool I am. I just listed this home. I just sold this home. What do you have? What advice do you have for agents that are looking to sort of up their social media game to be able to attract those people? Maybe the just listed and just sold posts are okay for your existing sphere of influence, so people can see that you're successful. They already know you. They like you. Hey, DJ's doing pretty well. Maybe I'll reach out to him. But for people who don't know me, like me, or trust me, what are your suggestions for how to be more effective on social media?
Yeah, so it's a really good question. It kind of goes to the heart of what we're talking about. I think you have to put yourself in the shoes of the consumer and kind of think, if you're trying to attract buyers are the most effective and efficient kind of lead you can generate online. That's still true to this day. It's probably the most effective way to generate business is to generate buyer business online. If you're a buyer in this market, there's a specific set of challenges you have as a buyer. Number one is inventory. That's what they want. That's what they desire. That's what they don't have enough of. If you have a way to show that you have access to inventory, whether that's like a specific list that you've curated, right? Even off the MLS, give them the specific list you've made. That's awesome. They just check out. Okay, check it out. The best deals in this neighborhood or in this school district or in this city. What is more applicable to your area. Find it and use it. If you have access to off-market properties, if that's allowed in your area, do that. Talk about that, what you've done to generate a list like that for your qualified and exclusive buyers, right? All the things you can do to address some of their inventory concerns. If they are nervous and stressed out about bidding wars and about negotiating a deal, then tell them how you're going to help address that concern. Talk about the last bidding war that you won. How did you win it? Do you have that secret sauce that's going to help them win a property in this kind of a market? So I think in general, DJ, it is put yourself in those shoes, and your ad on Facebook has to speak to that in the image and in that very first headline for the ad. It's rare you're going to get more of a chance than that, right?
Yeah.
What does your headline say, and what does that image say beneath that? And that's super, super key.
Yeah, and the wheels just turned for me in what you just said. I wanted to run this idea by you because I know our audience is probably thinking of ways they can do some similar things. Now, I'm not a producing realtor, so I'm just going to give you, as a marketing guy, my idea of what one thing you just mentioned. So if I were an agent and I was specializing in a particular geographic area, maybe it's a neighborhood, maybe it's a development, maybe it's a city or suburb or just some geographic area that has a name. So for example, right now I'm in Lincoln Park, Chicago, which is a very desirable neighborhood here in Chicago. And there's going to be a lot of people online searching for homes in Lincoln Park. Now, can they go to Zillow, Redfin, Realtor.com and look up Lincoln Park homes? Of course they can. and that is a good experience for the consumer. But what I might do on Facebook is I might create a group or a page would be easier. Create a page that just says Lincoln Park homes for sale, or Lincoln Park deals or something. And every single day I would be posting MLS ads for only homes in Lincoln Park. I would try to spread the word and try to make it easily searchable, because, again, what we're talking about is creating value for the consumer. Are there people that are wanting to see all the homes in Lincoln Park that are available? And do they want daily updates? Well, could they call the realtor and get put up on an automated MLS search? Of course they could, but maybe they're not doing that. Maybe they're going to Facebook more often than checking their email. And I'll bet you very few people have done anything like that. And that would be a way. And you could then create an ad and link back to that page and create an ad saying, looking to buy a home in Lincoln Park, right? And then, push right over to that page.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a great idea, by the way. If people are listening, you should check that out, because it has something that's really, really valuable, which is that hyper-local content. It addresses inventory. It makes it attractive. It makes it interesting. That's how people actually search for homes. That's how people actually search for homes. They're not, and this is funny, because a lot of these internet search portals, some of them have the knowledge of the neighborhoods, but it's like, hey,
most don't.
Kind of. Most don't. So people love that. And the Redfins of the world, the Zillows of the world, they caught on to that, a few years ago, and tried to create, neighborhood-based or portals and information. It's not really well done, right? It's not really well done because they did it for the whole country within an hour, So it's like, it's automated. So it's as good as an automation is going to be. But I think the realtors can take there's a huge opportunity doing what you just said, of not just curating listings and driving traffic via listings, but generate content for that area, for Lincoln Park, right? Again, I know it's Chicago, but like the school district or the restaurants or the nightlife, or if there were people moving there because, I don't know, they're working for the Obama campaign. Talk about, whoever's driving, jobs and interest in that area. You should be talking about that, because that is how people actually look for places they want to go live.
Yes.
What's around there? Is it mass transit any good? Are the schools any good? Are there any daycare places? Are there any restaurants? If it's a younger kind of a clientele, they're going to care about bars, restaurants, culture, all those kind of things. If it's parents, they're going to care about the parks and the schools and the nannies and the daycare and the babysitters and all of these other things, right? So carpools and commutes and all of these things. So, it sounds really, really obvious when you talk about it, but it's challenging. Most people never do that. Most people don't do that. But those are the kind of hooks that you need. We call them hooks. That's the kind of hook that you need to get someone's attention, bring them into your funnel, your conversion machine, your lead converting machine, and put them through that kind of a marketing plan that's going to turn them into a client.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about how Power ISA does the conversion. So obviously they're making outbound phone calls. I don't expect you to give up your secret sauce, of course, but can you just walk us through a little bit of what that process looks like once we hand the lead over to your team? How they begin to work it and how long they work it.
Yeah, so great question. So what we recommend, and this is the plan that we implement on our pay-per-lead system, which is what we offer to hundreds and hundreds of clients across the US and Canada, is that we recommend that you do 7 touches within the first 7 days, at least, right? 7 touches within the first 7 days, and we mix it up between calls and texts. We mix it up. Because if you just do phone calls, that is very easy to block. That's very easy to get rid of. If you just do text messages, it's also very easy to ignore. If you combine the both, then you're going to get the folks that prefer phone calls, and you're going to get the folks that prefer those text messages. I think the truth is it's a combination. A crazy story is in the last 90 days, we have seen the leads that we are contacting via text are converting to appointment at a higher rate than the leads that we initially contact via the phone, which is kind of blows my mind, because we measure this really, really closely. And we've seen the trend towards messaging, toward texting. It's true, it's happening, and it gets larger every year. But we had never seen the conversion number change with regard from text versus call. We'd never seen that before. Like, wow. What that means to me is that more consumers are preferring text message, and at least text message first, to kind of figure out who you are, what you want, what value you can offer them. And then they're willing to jump on the phone with you, because that's still the number one way we convert appointments. But when you initially talk to them via text and via phone, the text message is winning for the first time since we've been doing this since 2015, which is pretty crazy. But you want to combine both. I think that's the most important thing, because the number one thing we do on the text is an excuse to get you on the phone, because phone is the best way. A two-way conversation. I have not found a better way to convert someone. Maybe Zoom is the second best thing, right? A two-way conversation with someone over the phone is still the best way to evaluate them, qualify them, and set that appointment in person.
Yeah, it just makes all the sense in the world. And you're, what you said was, hey, a lead comes in that's not part of your sphere, and now you have to recognize this person doesn't necessarily know, like, or trust you. They might have inklings of knowing, liking, and trust you, but they've raised their hand in some capacity, and now you have to get them to know, like, and trust you. And as Gus says, really 7 touches in 7 days, a mixture of text and phone is really best. Text first, as Gus is saying. However, that's just a tremendous amount of work to set up. If you don't have a system, it's all done manually. But if it was me, I would much rather say, I'm going to push that off to someone else. I'd rather pay somebody to do that, who spends all day, who looks at the numbers, because let's be honest, how many people are keeping track of their actual conversion numbers? Pretty much nobody, other than companies like Gus's, because they live and die by those numbers. Agents are pulled in a million directions. They don't really have time to say, well, in the last 30 days, I made 500 phone calls and I converted. You're probably not, honestly, most people are not tracking that. So I would hand it off. I'd pay somebody to do it. And then I'd focus on what I'm best at, which is once I get that face-to-face appointment or voice-to-voice appointment or Zoom appointment, now I know how to close, like you were saying with your business.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, for agents, that's an important distinction to make, right? What are you going to be best at, right? Where's your time best spent? And I think the answer is going to be different for each person. But if the answer to that is meeting with people, talking to motivated buyers and sellers on the phone, meeting motivated buyers and sellers in person, face to face, and converting them to sign on the dotted line, if the answer is that, then you should add leverage on any single step that's before that. So you can spend most of your time doing that and calling people that want to do that, right? Spend your time with more effective phone calls. So this is one of the funny things when people hire an ISA, work with us, they think they're going to get rid of the phone. And I tell them, absolutely not, right? That's an incorrect expectation when you hire an ISA. It's that your phone calls are going to be worth more. They're going to be with more motivated prospects. You're still going to have to follow up with folks. You still have to make that phone conversion, but it's not going to be with 10 people that didn't even pick up the phone today, right? You're moving yourself up in the value chain, but you don't get rid of the phone, right? I don't know if that's good or bad, but you don't get rid of it entirely, but your time becomes much more valuable.
Yeah, that's very true. And I think right now we're in such a, in a unique position, because there are more buyers. Well, I don't know the exact statistics, so I'm kind of just guessing that there are more buyers today than there were obviously a year ago. Not just because the pandemic is hopefully starting to subside, but also interest rates, we know, are so incredibly low. I know I just bought a property for that exact reason. I can now buy something before that I couldn't afford previously, and there's so many people in that same boat. And yes, inventory issues aside, there's a lot of people raising their hands going, I want to buy. And this is a great opportunity to, if you're listening or watching and saying, well, my sphere just isn't doing that right now. I'm reaching out, I'm staying in touch, I'm commenting on their social media posts, I'm calling them, I'm emailing them, I'm doing all of the sphere of influence stuff. And my well isn't really all that full right now. Well, there's a lot of other people that you don't already know. So why not add in another stream and see how it works for you? So that to me would be a great time. Now, if you're flooded with business and you can't handle anything else, well, maybe bring on a partner and or an associate, and then add this additional stream in. But it is not an either or thing. I've always kind of felt that, this idea that we're only working by referral is, hey, that is great. And you can build a wonderful business like you and your wife did without adding in, sort of colder leads. But at some point, you're going to be trading hours for dollars. And at some point, you're just going to hit that ceiling. There's going to be a certain number of the stuff you can handle. And you can't really easily scale with that model, even though it's a wonderful model. So I totally understand. And I really challenge everyone listening to, it's the same thing where back many years ago, people talked about calling for sale by owners, calling expireds, and some people go, oh, it just doesn't work. You get hung up on time after time. Well, yeah, of course, that's part of the deal. But I know a lot of people that have success with those, and so it definitely works. Internet leads work. FISBOs work. It's just a matter of, do you have the skill set to do it? And you have to be honest with yourself and say, I'm not good at that. So hire someone else to be good at that, and then just focus on the appointments, right?
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you, DJ. Yeah, absolutely. And that's a decision, that I think everyone reaches, depending on the maturity of their business, depending on their own individual skill set, but absolutely 100%. If you ever want to scale the team, and this might be, this is your goal, to grow your business, to scale, to at some point remove yourself from being the heart, soul, and the only person working in your business, then you absolutely have to add leverage on those key areas. There's no other way to do it, right? So absolutely, that's part of the journey. That's part of how you build a big business, 100%, by leveraging those key aspects of your role and moving yourself up that value chain. You get more important and more important and more important. What is that, thing that you have to do that's going to move the business forward? And it might not be making the phone call to that brand new lead that came in this morning.
Well, we are huge fans of Power ISA, and really encourage everyone to reach out to them. Have a phone call with them. Obviously, that's their business, but have a phone call with them and say, here's where I'm at in my business. What can you guys do for me? We use ISAs I use ISAs in recruiting. So because I'm not a producing agent, I do the exact same thing Gus does, or I have a team. I've built a team that does the exact same thing Gus does, but for recruiting purposes. So for me, I have, there's 40,000 realtors in the Chicagoland area. I feed them to my 5 cold callers. We don't call them ISAs because, they're not really sales agents, but we have 5 cold callers. They pound the phones all day. They're very polite. They're very nice. And they book all my appointments because guess what? I hate making cold calls. I hate it. I don't want to do it. It freaks me out. So I pay other people to do it. They book my appointments, but guess what? I'm really good at the appointment. So that's where I spend my time. So I do the same thing that Gus is doing. So you need to think about your business. And look, there is literally, just reach out to them. Go to powerisa.com. There's a special promo if you go powerisa.com/keeping it real. And they'll give you a special promo, but you can have a free conversation with them and talk about what your business goals are and say, here's what I need help with. And see what happens. I really encourage everyone to do this. This could be the thing that takes, your, not even necessarily your closed transactions, but just your number of appointments up to the next level. So I'm big fans. Please go to powerisa.com/keeping it real and learn more about what they could do for your business. Gus, thank you so much for being on our show. I could talk to you for another several hours because this is right in my wheelhouse. So I love it. But I am a big fan of what you guys have built and accomplished. And we obviously wish you all the success. And just to wrap up the show, on behalf of Gus and myself, we want to thank all of our listeners and our viewers for continuing to support our show. Please support Gus. Visit powerisa.com/keeping it real just to see if there's anything they can do for your business. But also, please tell a friend about this podcast. Think of one other agent you benefit from hearing from this great conversation we just had with Gus and Power ISA, and send them a link to our show. The easiest way to do that, send them over to our website, keepingitrealpod.com. Every episode we've ever done, you can stream right from the browser or have them pull up a podcast app, search for Keeping It Real, hit that subscribe button, and they'll get every episode we do going forward. Thank you so much, Gus, and everyone go visit powerisa.com. And Gus, we're so excited to watch you continue to grow, and now you'll be up to 120 agent callers very shortly, right?
Yeah, well, hopefully if they all graduate, they'll make it. If they meet the bar, they will for sure. Thanks so much, DJ.
Awesome. Thanks, Gus.